Welcome to Upper Body Session 2, my favorite 2 exercises for shoulder bulletproofing that I think anyone can work on. You'll send your last set from a side angle, start as light as you need to, use a 6 to 10 bracket, so if you get 6, then you need to go down. If you can get all the way to 10, then you can go up in weight. If you fail in the middle, that's a good working weight. Notice one head of the dumbbell is on either side of my shoulder. Now if you're thinking you don't have that range, consider that we just spent 12 weeks in dense on our thoracic superset. So we've never seen somebody who couldn't get to that range, but I don't advise jumping right into overhead pressing. I advise 12 weeks working on your thoracic superset, then now getting into 12 weeks shoulder pressing. And it is worth noting for the advanced person who's hitting that 10 reps easy at 25%, and if your shoulders are feeling balanced one side to the other, then you could get into a neck press. You want those forearms pointed really vertically, not back, but under the bar, driving up, controlling all the way back down to a full resting position, no bounce. So this would allow you to get into a nice 4 to 6 rep bracket, going heavier, whereas the dumbbells I like for going lighter, but get a little more unwieldy when they start to get really heavy. Your shoulder pressing is supersetted with an external rotation. We already worked on this in dense. The chest is actually between the 2 legs, but I want to see your form from there because I want to see, are you going here to get momentum, or are you keeping the chest up? So this is at full stretch for me, and then I am rotating up without this leg cheating the weight. That allows the weight to get up easier. If you keep it there, have to rotate up yourself, much tougher. 10% of body weight for 10 reps is our elite athlete standard, but even 5% would be great for anybody. And a quick note on this, I think becomes extra relevant the more you throw. I hate upper body training. This is the one upper body exercise I've consistently done because I used to do 1,000 passes a day trying to be able to do bullet passes on the basketball court from anywhere. Had horrible shoulder tendonitis. Just getting this to 10% of my body weight was enough. But for guys who bench press a ton, we actually try to keep this up to 10% of your bench. So I want to look at a buddy of mine named Sverre Finson, super inspirational guy, one of the most positive people I ever met. Hit me up in a DM wondering if his dream of playing college football could come true. I believed in it, he made it happen, but he put in the work. So he manufactured himself into speed, strength, power, all these things. So he drove up his bench, kept that external rotation. Look at the intention. Look how hard he's training that external rotation. We're taking a physiotherapy movement that's usually done with bands, and we're turning it into something that comes up along with our strength. Proven bulletproofing should go hand in hand. As we get stronger, we wouldn't want to leave the bulletproofing down here. So this is a miracle worker that we are super grateful for. And if you look at Sverre, he also was working on that neck press, and you can see that incredibly sculpted upper back and shoulder. So these give you 2 really nice ones that allow you, if you are a guy who has to bench to be a football player or whatever, you can really use these 2 to try to stay in balance to that bench. And I will link in here my original mentor, Charles Poliquin's structural balance numbers for the upper body. My career has basically been devoted to sharpening those into things that anyone can apply, as well as creating them for the lower body. Now, just as in Tuesday, how we had 2 bonus exercises you could do if you want more size and strength, we have 2 bonus exercises today. They are the full range dip and full range chin up. Again, 2 things that I really very rarely do, but I know from training guys who want to be able to run as fast as possible, also trying to get as strong as possible, these 2 had the most correlation. It doesn't mean that these 2 make you run fast, but in 4 guys that I've trained to NFL laser timed, I got the same laser to the same way, 40-yard dashes to 4.2 second 40s, 4 guys. All 4 could do half their body weight, full range dips and chins. Let's look at a couple of these guys right now. 77 pounds at 150 body weight, Marcus Leonard, also 49.5-inch running vertical. Xavier Pope, 88 pounds at 175 body weight, also hit 49.5-inch max running vertical. That doesn't mean you have to be a smaller guy. Here's a third one, Filippo Fort, much bigger, 200 plus. This guy took himself from a 5 second 40 guy who wasn't big to being huge and running a 4.5. He went from a nobody to, and he made himself. He just made himself a D1 football player, a guy that he ended up walking on and actually making the team because you just couldn't deny his physical ability. Now he's doing 100% body weight, bar in front, perfect form, flat ground split squats, but you can see him here on dips doing 132 pounds, well over half body weight. You can see him on chin, 143 pounds, well over half body weight. These don't magically make you run faster. The point is, they don't magically make you run slower either. Now before we go into closing, remember that in knee ability 0 or optional upper body 0, we're using rings to rehabilitate full range in the pec on the push-up and in the back on the row. And if you look how you lean with that ring, however far out you go, I've put 80-year-olds on there. There's never been an age, young or old, that we couldn't develop with rings. It's so scalable. It's by far the #1 most bang for your buck training tool. If you look at the price and what you can get out of it, it's beautiful. Then in dense, we start to add dumbbells, dumbbell push, pull, getting that range. Now in standards, we have optional, and it's there in the app. Just as you can get your form coaching on the ATG shoulder press and external rotation, you can optionally get your form coaching with exact sets, reps, targets on your full range dip and chin. So those are the underlying theories behind standards, that really anyone can do it. So it doesn't matter necessarily if you hit the goals of 0, the goals of dense, the goals of standards. You can progress at your own pace. I allow you to move at whatever pace you want, but you have a whole life ahead of you, and based on experience, 12 weeks seems to be a nice amount of time. I just did 12 weeks of 0. Then I'm finishing this week 12 weeks of dense. Now I can't wait to go on to 12 weeks of standards. So those times work out, you get what you can. Each scales though. So every tool in each program scales, so you could go through them at whatever level. So I just want to be clear on that. Even if you can't do dips and chins yet, you can totally be working on the dumbbell versions anyone can do by how heavy you go, or the ring versions anyone can do by how far out you stand. Now closing time, I had a really fun one to look at, right? If we look at the big 4 most tested athlete measurement lifts, bench, squat, deadlift, power clean, right? Don't get fooled. I don't have anything there's wrong with those, they just leave a lot missing. Let's look at what could go wrong, right? So with a bench press, it's a partial range of motion. So look at Usain Bolt running from a side angle. I would say there's a much bigger correlation between your dip than your bench press. Point is, okay, we don't really have studies on dip and looking at speed, right? So there's what's been tested and there's what the top athletes are doing. Charles taught me that the top athletes are often using things that will be verified 20, 30 years from now. Now that's a pretty simple one. You can see these speedsters, you can see their range. This is gonna be more relevant than a bench press. Now let's look at something like a squat. Well, first off, do you have Marcus and Xavier's depth on that squat? And second off, the bottom of the squat is more like a foundation, and it's the top that really has more indication for how athletic you're gonna be, not to mention the big, big factor. Your muscles are not as strong as your tendons. So while so many of us were trying to get to the power cleans that the top athletes could do, those top athletes were jumping and falling and landing from 40+ inch jumps all the time. While you and I were power cleaning, Marcus and Xavier were landing from near 50-inch jumps, which is proven to increase maximal strength, elasticity. Your tendons are stronger than your muscles. Michael Jordan was out there jumping while we were trying to do power cleans to get like him, which he didn't do to get there. He jumped. And the last one, the deadlift, you're looking at the hip extending, right? Well, first off, the 4 guys that I trained to 4.2s, all 4 could deadlift near triple body weight without training it, just done as a test. I used to do a lot of testing back then. So they were freakishly strong in hip extension. Now we looked at squat is adding knee extension. Now, what about the power clean? Oh, it's adding some ankle, right? Triple extension. But what about triple flexion? So if squat, deadlift, power clean are giving us triple extension, but what about triple flexion? I mean, hip flexor, biggest difference between a regular human and elite sprinter, all 4 of those guys who ran 4.2s, they simply had the strongest hip flexors pound for pound in the gym. When you take a simple lift that doesn't take technique and you let an elite athlete do it for a bit, you'll be shocked how strong they were. First off, an elite athlete often doesn't have anything to prove in the weight room. He's often balanced. So you look at something like a deadlift, maybe he's never even trained that before, but then you look at a hip flexor that maybe the guy who's driven up his deadlift has never trained and now gets blasted out of the water. I remember with Marcus Leonard, I made him not look at the weight. He ended up setting a gym record in hip flexor strength that day. He didn't even know what he was lifting. I just made him keep lifting weight, keep lifting weight, keep lifting weight. So my point is there's more than just triple extension. There's triple flexion. So we have measurable standards for triple extension and one side to the other for each area. Measurable standards for triple extension and measurable standards for triple flexion. So we don't have any outliers yet that we can't find somebody and look at what we're using beyond what's been tested and see that there is a whole lot more potential for athleticism and bulletproofing.